Grant Cardone is an amazing follow on YouTube. I've learned so much from him. However, he is so wrong about this one thing, and I'm going to share it with you today in this video.
Instead of chasing a $200,000 deal, chase a $2.5 million deal.
I tell you over and over, look, do not buy less than
16 units.
16 units. Do not, because without 16 units, you cannot have a manager. And if you can't have a manager, you're not going to either have your attention on the property or your full-time job.
All right.
Particularly those of you out there making $150,000 a year. You're making 180, you're making 200. You don't want to take your attention off of what you're making money on.
In this video, it is titled How to Buy Your First Deal with No Money Down, which is obviously a silly concept. It is one that's touted a lot within the real estate industry because it's so easy to sell, because so many people are starting with nothing, and it's easier to get a following when you talk about how you can do all this with no money down, which is absolutely true, but you really need a solid foundation and a solid education to understand how to do it.
Do not buy less than
16 units.
16 units.
Yeah, of course. All of you people following me, do not buy less than 16 units. You know, properties that go anywhere from like 50,000 a unit, maybe 800,000 total price, to multiple millions of dollars. And if you're on the coast, it could be upwards of, I don't know, $3 or $4 million. Yeah, because you're a beginner. Make sure to only buy this one property, the one you can't afford. So many people can barely afford their rent payments, and they have just a little bit left over, and they want to look into investing. So they get on board with Grant Cardone's YouTube channel, and they start finding out that the only thing they should worry about is buying 16 unit apartments.
16 units.
16 units.
This is absolutely insane. Not to mention all of the people who get their start in real estate from a much smaller level, including himself. So many people get started with flipping, wholesaling, buying a few rental properties if they're high income earner. And you, in a way, you kind of have to get started small. You need to really learn the business and really do some transactions before you try to take down some large deals. Most people, again, most people are going to be beginners and are going to enter this industry with very little money.
Yeah, when you say 16 units and having a manager, you're not talking about a full-time manager, right?
I am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I should rent one of those units to the manager and give him some money. Because look, if you can't do that, that guy's going to rip you off.
I don't understand why he's so fixated on having a full-time property manager. And in some markets, especially like a Toledo, Ohio, or Kansas City, you can't afford a full-time property manager on 16 units. They might be bringing in $8,000 a month gross rent. You can't afford a full-time employee on that. So he's even mentioning getting a full-time manager, but most markets, or at least the ones I've looked into and outside of the coast, it doesn't make any sense to have a full-time property manager until like 50 or 60 units. He seems really out of touch with most investors, especially beginning investors.
Particularly those of you out there making $150,000 a year. You're making 180, you're making 200.
And to show you how out of touch he is, he's mentioning 150, 180 a year salaries. These are huge numbers. Now, I totally get it. I think his following and his desired following are going to be high income earners. So these are the people that he promotes to, which I totally get. If that's his audience, great. But he has 1 million followers on YouTube, and I think probably around 1 million on Instagram as well. So very few of them are going to be this high of earners.
He's running the other 15. So you're giving him, I don't know, $1,000 a month in rent. Plus you got to give him some money, dude. If you don't give this cat some money, you know what he's going to do? He's going to steal from that property, man.
Yeah.
Now, what do I mean by stealing? I don't mean he takes money from you. I mean he takes his attention off the property. Okay? And by the way, you can't manage it. Why? This thing doesn't produce enough income for you to take your attention off your main thing. If you're selling insurance, if you're a nurse, if you're a mom with a couple kids, okay? You can't do that. That's why you got to look at 16 or less. And by the way, I wouldn't even bother with 16 units.
He's talking about hiring a guy full-time and also giving him one of the units and paying him. So that means he would have to underwrite a deal where one of the units isn't bringing in any money. It's actually losing him money because it's another expense.
It's not big enough. Go ahead, Rob.
How much you pay the man? Like, how do you gauge how much to pay the manager?
Well, okay, let's say this is 16 units and this thing does $1,000. Okay, that's 16,000. I wouldn't pay more than 5% to do that job. 5% of 16,000 is $800. What's he going to do for $800?
He's also insinuating that this is the only option. Now, with my fourplex, I had a property manager. I paid her 10% of gross rents. I never had to worry about the property at all. From what I've seen, most property managers are going to charge between 8 and 12%. So if you're getting a small apartment, maybe a 4-unit or a duplex, then you can hire property managers and have them run your property perfectly well. And if you're someone who has a salary job and you want to work and you don't want to deal with this property, well, that's exactly what you pay these property managers for. And you absolutely do not need a full-time manager in order for the property to run well.
Junkies here, right? Like, what's he gonna do, dude? Hey, man, number 2 and number 1, number 14 had a big fight, man. You know, what do I do, dude? Dude, man, these are problems, bro. What's he gonna do for 800?
Nothing.
You're giving him a unit and $800. What's he gonna do? Hey, man, it's freaking 1 o'clock in the morning. What do I do to Popos here, man?
He must have had a bad experience with a property manager as he was growing. People, I think, forget that Grant Cardone started out small. He even started with a single family. So he must have had property managers along the way. And at some point, one must have screwed him over, because he's talking about having them on the property so that they can manage it and they can't take their attention off of it. Well, in this business, there's going to be really good property managers. And there's going to be really good property managers who keep their eye on the property and make sure it runs well. When you have a good property manager, she doesn't need to be there all day, every day. If she brings in good tenants and hires good employees to work for her, then the property should be ran pretty well without her needing to be there all day, every day.
I wouldn't pay more than 5% to do that job.
5% is really, really low. From what I've seen, 8 to 12% is typical. Now, if he's buying in like an A neighborhood, which I think he might for his big deals, then maybe you get a slight discount. But if you're first starting out and you don't have any experience and you don't have a relationship built up with a property manager, you're gonna get probably 8 to 12%, typically 10%. That's what I got from mine. Now, if you bring a property manager a lot of units, you can bring that price down. But he's talking about, this is your first deal, go out and charge 5% for the property manager, but that is super low.
See, the deal is not big enough, okay? Now, why am I telling you that? Dude, I'm trying to keep you from doing what this guy did. This guy just sold, how many units did you sell?
18.
He sold 18 units
Yep.
and dropped into 800 units
Yep.
that I own,
Yep.
okay? Now, he doesn't own 100% of the deal anymore. He's riding on my bet.
Grant is a salesman. Look at him go. This is where he is exceptional. So he is building up this idea that 16 is what you need to go for, but there's a couple reasons why you should go bigger. Forget 16 units, and let me give you an example. Here's my partner, and he actually sold his 18 unit. Now he's a owner of 800 units. Wow, 800 units. You can make so much more with 800. Well, what Grant's doing is understand that he is a syndicator. He tries to pool money together and buy big deals. So his whole pitch, and what makes Grant really good at what he does, is this is a funnel into his syndicated deals. He wants to get you in the mindset that you need to go bigger. You need to buy into big deals. And what is it? Oh, at the end of the video, there's a pitch for his syndicated deals. You can go on his website, you can follow along, and you can inquire about getting in on deals with Grant Cardone, Mr. Special Investor, big time.
So I'm telling you, if you want to get rid of if you want to get rid of the risk, man, go much bigger. Don't go much smaller. Go much bigger in your units.
But what he's doing is he's just priming you. He's just getting you into the idea of real estate, telling you why you shouldn't buy small deals and why you need to go big, because he wants you to be a partner and you to bring the dough. He don't want to bring any money out of his pocket. He wants you to bring the dough to his deals so he can buy big deals, use his name and his fame so that he can go out and get the pool of money, invest in the deals. He makes a pretty penny from pulling the money together, and I'm sure he buys good deals. He knows what he's doing. He's not an idiot. This is not bashing Grant for his success, but just understand that when you watch these videos, that is what he's doing.
If you want to be in one of my deals and you're accredited, I cannot take non-accredited investors. The SEC will not allow me to do that yet.
If you're a beginner, you absolutely should start smaller. I will argue that till the day I die. Start with wholesaling, start with flipping, start with buying a house hack. Do something small. Do not listen to Grant Cardone. He has gotten so big, he's done so many big deals and seen the profit on the big deals that he thinks that's the only way to do it. But unfortunately, when you're first getting started, you don't have the money to do that. And most importantly, you don't even have the money to buy into his syndicated deals, as you need to be an accredited investor, which most people watching this are probably not.
I'd love to have you guys, if you're an accredited investor, you earn 200 grand a year for 2 years in a row,
Yep.
or you have $1 million in net worth,
worth.
and if you got good luck.
I really hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something. If you want to follow along on my journey, go ahead and hit subscribe. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment if you have anything to say to me. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. I'm hoping to show you every step along the way from $0 a month to financial independence, which I should be hitting here soon. So if you want to follow along and see how I did it and see how I'm going to help you do it, make sure to hit subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.